This is Big Man Tyrone, and you're about to watch the MtG Cabal cast with your hosts, Woad, Thirsty, and Reptile. Sub to us on all your podcast networks at MtG Cabal Cast and YouTube.
All right, guys, welcome to the newest episode of the Cabal Cast. We've got BNR predictions, we've got financial implications of C19 and Throne of Eldraine, and we are prepping for Vegas this week, so be sure to come see Rep and I at our respective booths. He will be at Face to Face, and I will be at Miniature Market. So swing on by and say hey. And without further ado, then, let's get started on the financial implications of more wallet fatigue, because I love it.
Oh yeah, we're running out of sets though for the year, which is nice. It's these two, and then we're done.
Yeah,
so
thankfully,
you can look forward to that.
I'm not. It's rough.
No, C19's been interesting more so than Eldraine, just because with C19, I've seen a handful of spikes centered around that, like Balthor the Defiled last week popped up. Was it Game Nights, I believe, put on something that week with Balthor. That card basically disappeared off the internet and price reset on TCG, etc. It just kind of like seemingly went. It hasn't seen any more play on EDH Rec. It's still less than 1% in 1% of decks on that site. It's just a good Reanimator card.
That's really all it is.
So somebody pointed out and asked what was going on with it, and I think I spent the majority of the next hour or so trying to figure this out, because Balthor is a card that I've always kept in my trade binder. The card reads pretty impressively for this little dwarf guy that could. He's basically one of the best mass Reanimator cards you have for Commander. He costs 4 and then 3 more to mass reanimate, and with Urborg Cabal Coffers in play, you're looking at, I think, like turn 5 or something like that. Mass reanimate, right?
It's pretty good.
So we saw that, and we'll probably see it again as both Star City and Geek Nights will be running another set of Commander videos starring the C19 decks, but we're not sure if either of those groups will run updates in those decks or not.
Yeah.
We also saw things like Ideas and Bound kind of double up with the Madness deck. It is one of the best blue Madness outlets there are. And the Twiddlestorm deck placed in, I believe, the top 64 of Grand Prix Minneapolis. And there were 3 copies of GP Birmingham, although they did not do that well. And Ideas and Bound is a cornerstone of that deck, so we saw that pop. And there's just going to be generic fallout from this set. You're looking at Madness and which leads to Reanimator themes in the black-red deck, and then you're going to see some stuff out of the cycling deck too. Despite the fact that there are some cycling lands in there, none of the rare lands are in there, which is kind of important, so we might see a run on them. Vesuvian Shapeshifter was also reprinted, but that kind of brings that card back to light for a card that was reprinted in Time Spiral into A25 only. Those are fairly limited print runs on that card. C19 does not do much to alleviate the pressure of just generic scarcity. So that is a card I believe we called out in our private Discord a couple of weeks ago, and while it is flat on stocks right now, both it and A25, this is the first time that a morph deck is really supported in this way, and giving your creatures the ability to flip up and down. With Vesuvian can do it itself. Then you have Ixidor, which allows for that, and Dream Chisel, which I hope everybody's seen spiked as well, helps you flip. We're definitely going to see some fallout from these decks for the next couple of weeks to months as people kind of flesh things out and buy into them.
I think the interesting thing is, Sol Ring's $1 to buy, and it's going to be $4 to $5. And I feel like every year when these sets come out, and this is something that I think more people should keep an eye on, is like Lightning Reef, Sol Ring, Thran Dynamo, just like the mana rocks that are always in these sets that seem to be reprint proof are suddenly worth dirt.
Yes.
And just hoover all of those up. Sol Ring will never not be, like, during the summer, not a $2 buy list card. There's no point. There's just too much demand. Everyone needs it for all their EDH decks. Sheldon's doubled down. I don't even know how many times at this point and been like, yeah, no, we're going to keep Soul Ring around. Like, all right, yeah, great, cool. Then guess what?
You should be buying.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's buy them all.
Yeah.
It's not getting banned. Sorry, Dan Bach. I know that's your thing. I don't see it happening.
No.
And I think that's a key thing that I think a lot of people overlook this time of year is that you can just, you've got 4 Soul Rings in your binder. Well, here's like a $4 card.
Yeah.
I'll take all 4 Soul Rings.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And that's the Commander variant. Up through revised, they're getting close to 10. I believe somewhere between 6 and 8 right now. But that's absolutely the case. The other card that I don't think got a reprint, not at least as far as I've seen, Commander 2017 was the last time, is Wayfarer's Bauble. And that card is basically just kind of floating along. The market and average inverted not too long ago, and they're now coming back together for Bauble. And it's in 7% of decks on EDH Rec. And this is another card that you can usually just kind of scoop up because it's a common everywhere it's been printed, so the set printings, etc., are all going to be pretty easy to find. And regardless of how many colors you're playing, this is still a worthwhile card to have. Like, it's just basic land fetch on an artifact. You can play it in anything and everything. Do it. Just an easy pickup. Exotic Orchard's another one of those cards that just keeps going down and down and down and down. And I think it's, what was it, in original Lorwyn blocks? Is it Shadowmark?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So again, we're looking at an initial set with a very limited print run and a card that always tanks when it's reprinted but cycles back up during the year. I think Reflecting Pool is similar in terms of price graph. If you take a look at it, let me see if I can bring it up. Shadowmark, Conspiracy, and a World Champs deck for Reflecting Pool.
Yeah.
Original printing and Tempest.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I also think, speaking of financial ramifications, we saw Grip of Phyrexia, whatever that uncommon was, for a while was worth a decent amount of money. And I think that, and this is a free pick for everyone watching, if you want an uncommon from these decks to go after, Leadership Vacuum. This card is going to be in every blue deck in EDH. Target player return each commander they control from the battlefield to the command zone. Draw a card at instant speed for 3 mana.
Yep.
It's an extra counter spell for your general.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's great. Just trust me.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring it up, but it's not pulling on stocks. But yeah, no matter what you can get it at, it'll be worth more later on. The card is just going to be a staple. It's just like Imprison in the Moon is slowly going up because it allows you to just handle 187 commanders.
Anything,
Gone. Doesn't matter.
It's great.
Yeah, but blue removal is hard to find, and this is just another good example of a blue control card printed in a supplemental set. So, I think that's a good free pick. But the one thing that I haven't seen while we've been in C19 season is much more hype for Eldraine. After the initial, there will be fairies. Okay, let's buy out fairy cards. Wait, no. Fairy tales. All right, let's keep buying out fairy cards. Wait, no. There will be literally no fairies in this set. Stop being dumb.
Yeah.
After that, and the printing of the new card frame for, I guess, what the books are going to be.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of hype for people who wanted to come play Magic again, or Standard, but I don't know what format people like that are going to want to come in and play.
Yeah, no idea.
So,
I think I'm very excited for the art market because the art in this set is great.
Yeah.
So I, for one, can't wait. It'll be interesting because I assume you saw the photoshopped. Oh, we just said that so we could watch people shit the bed on secluded Glen.
Yep.
And that was a little bit of a thumbs up to the MTG finance people from the internet, but I think that it will be interesting to see what the financial fallout is. I think obviously fairies maybe not, but until we get more spoilers, I just don't know how likely it's going to be that we see anything.
Yeah, I think that notwithstanding, the only time I saw people really interested to come back and play the set was when the theme and that card frame were released. And that was about it. It's not the whatever the new Mythic edition is, that new box that I can't remember the name of, the like $150, $200 box.
Yeah.
It's not the PPUs, the change to that. It's just purely the subject material of this set and the look of the cards that really has people interested in coming back. If it does bring people back, though, that seems like the kind of thing where we'll see a lot of people enter back, most likely into paper, because if they're interested in that frame, that's where you get it. It's where you get to hold it and deal with it physically. You might not see a lot of people come back to play Arena for that reason.
Yeah.
Like, it's Arena is convenient, yes, but it's not going to be the way that people want to handle these cards and treat them, because there is that aesthetic that you will miss, and that falls into, like you said, the art market for this. So,
yeah, it'll be. I mean, it ties in very well, I think, with what they're doing with Arena, where they're getting new people in or they're getting old people back, and I think that this is something we're going to see that, interestingly, and I think for the best, is going to bring more people to the market. I still don't think that makes, Standard by any means even remotely valuable.
No.
But, it's more people is better, because maybe it extends the paper timeline from 5 years to 6 until it's dead.
Yeah.
Who knows?
They can't just keep pumping out, like, banger after banger. You have to have some just medium gameplay, like medium sets from a design standpoint that just allow the game to function properly.
Yeah.
Like, the more heaters you throw out there, the more you kind of push into the territory of something's going to be overpowered, there might need to be a standard ban, and you just fall into that tailspin again.
Yep.
Like, you just need some foundation style sets. We also have rotation in the fall that kicks out all of Ixalan block. Thank God, because that's been around for what feels like forever. And that changes the landscape, which might bring some more people back to Standard with Eldraine, because you still have all the themes that Ixalan brought for the first time in Pirates and Dinosaurs. Like, those just kind of float along with the core set. You still get that kind of stuff. And it just rejuvenates the Standard format as a whole. You lose all the pillars of this format that have been there since October 2017 or 2018, something like that. How long Ixalan's been in this godforsaken format. And then you're just left... Yeah, you're left essentially with 3 really good Ravnica sets. Again, a pretty hot medium core set.
Yeah.
And Eldraine, which should do enough to shake up Standard, hopefully.
Yeah.
So, if we do see enough people flock back into Standard that demand jumps again for paper cards, you will just see prices for everything float upwards.
Yeah.
It could go all the way back to Rav sets as people buy into Standard, and you might see an uptick in shocks as more people buy into the format, but that won't be there won't be a huge amount of float, and it won't last for that long. It's just as people buy in. But then you'll see more sustained growth in the game, which makes for a better economy overall within the game. It doesn't really trickle down or affect much.
No.
What could happen with Eldraine is that this is another Standard set where it's very obvious what the EDH hits are, and so you see immediate finance opportunities within EDH in this set. So that keeps prices up, as well as people are looking to pick up these singles, looking to crack boosters for this stuff. Or you could wind up with what happened with Kaladesh, and you have just a few cards that cost an exorbitant amount of money compared to the rest of the set, because EDH demand was set from day one, and those prices were solid all the way through into rotation, or in the case of Panharmonicon, when it saw play in Standard for the Bant combo deck.
Yeah.
And Eldraine really... The more spoilers we get, the more we'll be able to figure it out. But I'm hoping it just brings people back to paper for the time being.
Fingers crossed.
It's true.
We'll see. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Vegas might start the spoiler season for Eldraine.
I believe it's supposed to start, if not the week after, then the week after that, within like 2 weeks of it. As when it should be starting. I am not going to dig through the mothership for it right now. I know we got some of the Brawl stuff. We got Rowan spoiled from something, but I don't know. And the mothership is such a nightmare to navigate, so nope.
Yep. Let's see if I can find this real quick. Release date is October 4th, which means it's the last weekend in September, so we're about a month away. So yeah, we won't really start getting spoilers until well after Vegas. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So, keeping up to date with that isn't going to be too difficult because, like I said, it's the last set of the year. We're not going to be inundated with supplemental set for the next months. So it'll be easy to figure out, and standard at this point is fairly figured out. You have the standard cadre of decks and Gen Dinosaurs, Vampires, Mono Red, which is making a comeback, and various flavors of Bant, either just ramp or scape shift, and that's pretty much the format. There's not a lot of stuff to do there. What you can do is start looking into cheap buys that are going to rotate into modern, or just have eternal playability in general. A question was asked of our guy who actually won the MCQ in Birmingham with Red White Burn, what to do with his Dominaria boxes that he picked up off the prize wall.
Yeah.
Because it was too late to pick up anything else by the time he'd won the MCQ. And so we just took a look at the set, and Teferi is the most expensive card in that set at $23. After that, it's Karn at like $10. That set is abysmal, but it definitely has playables that did and will see play in Eternal formats. 4 CMC Karn, Teferi. There's a number of legends that are high profile. You have Muldrothra as another hit. Mox Amber is in there. I can't remember the name of the 7/7 artifact. Ding dong. Traxos?
Yes, that one for shops.
Shops, exactly. Yep. Like that. It's there. And then it has some. It also has all the infinite legends. You have the red white equipment legend. You have Tatiova, the Simic legend. Slimefoot, which we talked about. Like that set definitely has cards for the long run. So this might be the time where instead of looking at Eldraine and seeing what we can do there, like maybe you just want to start taking a look at what is in Dominaria, and definitely holds eternal playability in Commander or non-rotating formats like Modern, Legacy, Vintage.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, most of these cards are cheap. Check stocks, hit invest or sets, and take a look at Dominaria. Like it's ridiculous how weak that set is financially. Now would be the time. Also, search for Escanta is ridiculously cheap too right now. Like I was looking through our past picks, and that one's it was good, and then it just tanked.
Yeah, I mean, I still think long term it's fine. It's Legacy and Modern, 4X, whatever.
Yeah. Commander, Cube, pick a format.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, $4 for that is too cheap for the non-foil, and the buy box being less than 40 is
ridiculous.
Absurd.
Yeah, the buy box is at least held pretty steadily, maybe 10 to 15% drop since the last time I looked at it and picked mine up. But $4 for a regular Sorcerer's Con is ridiculous. I'm holding all of mine until it goes back up, i.e. after they ban Hogak. When blue X control, be it Jeskai or just Azorius, can actually function in Modern. But I guess we can use that as a gentle segue.
Yeah, so speaking of B&H, hot take. Hot take here. Faithless looting. They're not going to ban Hogak. They're not going to ban Altar. Altar is clearly the call. Hogak is a better call. But Wizards has their head so far up their ass, they're eating their next meal while they're digesting it.
No.
So I think Faithless looting is going to get the hit. It's wrong. It's incorrect. It should be Altar or Hogak. I think in Modern we see looting get the hit. I want in Vintage Karn, Narset,
Which Karn?
Teferi, Great Creator.
Great Creator, yeah.
Creator, Narset, Teferi, Shop, Restrict.
3 CMC Teferi?
Restrict. Yes, 3 CMC Teferi.
Not all of our
it's fair.
Viewers pay attention.
The 3 CMC Teferi, because there are way too many games in Vintage where the blue-white matchup literally comes down to who resolves Teferi first.
Or Narset, yeah.
Or Narset. And if you resolve it, it's all right, well, I guess I'm GG'd from this forever, so go to the next one.
It's like resolving your Fact or Fiction after you have Tog on board. We'll see you in the next game. Roll it up.
Yeah. See you later, bye. I don't think there's any changes to Legacy.
No, that format looked great over the weekend.
Yeah, the Legacy is in the best position it has been since before Counterbalance got printed, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's absurd. It's so good right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's my prediction.
Okay.
What I want to happen is to see Alter banned in Modern.
Teach him a lesson.
It's the right call. I mean, I just don't know, like, what else?
I know. So Emma Handy, Sam Black, and Autumn Burchett, as far as I know, were the only people that worked together that played Alter in Hogak. But they also played Leyline in the main, which seemed like a bunch more teams did. I think Alter is definitely a card. Like, if they have a list of cards to keep an eye on, I think Alter stays on that list, because the more creatures and more ETB triggers you have that create tokens, the dumber that card gets in the format. And
yeah.
I think Alter should probably go the way of Rampaging Ferocidon. Why do you ban it? Just wait and see.
Yeah. It restricts future design space, and I mean, by no means is it going to be as bad as, like, Pod was.
No.
I loved Pod. It was degenerate. It was great.
Yeah.
It probably needed to be banned for the health of the format. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it does too much long term, and I think it does hose enough strategies that it's okay.
Okay.
But
I get that.
Who knows?
All right. I want to pop off now. So
yeah,
from Modern, we're of similar minds, but I think Hogak is going this time. I don't think there's a question about it. I think they take Hogak out. But to go with it, I also think they take Faithless Looting. I love that card to death. Faithless Looting is one of my favorite red cards to cast in Magic, because I'm a degenerate and play Dredge in Legacy. But if you take Faithless Looting out, you open up design space in the format to work with the graveyard a little more, because right now that is the area of the format that is the weakest in regards to proactive play against. You either play Leyline, Cage, Surgical in some combination, or you just can't play against graveyard strategies effectively, or Rest in Peace. But that actually costs colored mana. If you take out, disregard, forget Hogak exists. If you take out Faithless Looting, you cut the graveyard off as a strategy, and now you see what I believe will be fewer complaints about needing more sideboard slots for Modern. Because Faithless Looting just does too much. It helps you filter. It powers up your graveyard. It powers up delve spells, which we already know are ridiculously overpowered in that format. And I just think that you're able to slow down and control the format a little better without Faithless Looting there. Fair. You can replace it with Ideas Unbound as well. Like that was a card beforehand. When Bubble Hulk was a thing for a hot minute and played Footsteps of the Goryo, you played Ideas Unbound alongside Faithless Looting. And Faithless Looting was actually the worst of the two at that point in time in Modern. There weren't many decks playing it. There wasn't really a Dredge deck. This was the only real graveyard deck you had, aside from Goryo's Vengeance, which relies on Faithless Looting because the deck is basically black-red at its core, so it can't cast Ideas Unbound, and there's no other really cheap draw spell for one. So yeah. I think that's what we see go. I don't think Ancient Stirrings is ever a problem for this format.
No.
Not with Force of Negation floating around. You can control both decks that use it at the moment. I don't think it's just Hardened Scales and Tron. I don't think there's a third deck that uses it right now.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing is I think looting should probably go. But I think that you had the perfect opportunity when you printed Modern Horizons to print Careful Study and ban Faithless Looting, and it is fine.
Yep.
The problem is 8 copies. Running 8 copies of it is way too much. 4 copies is fine.
Yes. The flashback on that card is unreal. It allows the Dredge deck to play much longer games than it needs to. And if you play Careful Study or Ideas Unbound. Both are in blue, so the Phoenix deck still gets to kick it and stick around in the format. That deck doesn't necessarily die out if you ban Faithless Looting. It just changes a little bit and slows down when it comes to recurring Phoenix. Flipping Thing in the Ice might be a little harder as well because you can't just off of Monomorphos cast Faithless Looting, Gutshot Lightning, but like it's different. You'll probably also lose Mono Red Phoenix and Mono Red Prowess, but those might survive with Light Up the Stage as alternatives. I'm not sure. But you don't really kill off a chunk of the format by taking Faithless Looting out right now. It's basically graveyard strategies that are looking to do things with Hogak or similar shells in Dredge itself.
Yeah.
Dredge doesn't need to be a deck in Modern. It wasn't a deck for years, and if you kill it, you're not going to cut off your nose to spite your face when it comes to the financial impact of this, which is why they never ban Mishra's Workshop. Ban, not restrict.
That card should be restricted. I would love to see it. It was on my list, but I doubt we see it.
I also think Legacy is fine right now. The rise of 4-color control over the weekend was 4-color Delver was a little interesting, but I think that's going to happen when you have infinite fetch lands and all the duels at your disposal right now. It's whatever. The format is still kind of figuring itself out.
And not a lot of people are playing Blood Moon anymore, so I think it's at a good opportunity where like Deathrite helped a lot.
Yes.
It really did. There's just not a lot of Wasteland floating around, and there's not a lot of Blood Moon. So I think it's just well positioned right now.
Yeah, I think Legacy's fine. Like at any point in time, it looks like you can play Reanimator in the format, like blue-black, not black-red, blue-black Reanimator, where you can actually control the game a little bit and set up a game plan and not just like blow your load on turn one. You can go again and again. Then I think the format's in an extremely healthy spot. Because then all you have to do is play Grafdigger's Cage or Surgical. It's fine. You don't have to worry about like 16 decks playing similar themes.
Yeah.
There's no countertop to worry about. You don't have to worry about Deathrite Shaman blocking your Goblin Lackey. That's fine. I think Vintage needs a fix, but it's needed it since War of the Spark. Like that set should have come out, and like 2 weeks later they should have just like started banning cards. But almost ironically, it seems like Vintage League players are having problems queuing right now. Games just aren't firing. I saw this on Twitter the other day. You can join a Vintage League, queue, but you might never play a game.
Sitting there forever because the format is hot garbage. People so bad.
No, people queue. The league fires. There's just something literally wrong with Moto.
Oh, fair.
Moto's just not pairing people. Like you, from what I understand, you can't start a league without and like get ready for pairings without the requisite number of people. So the league is actually firing. Exactly, the league is actually firing. Moto was just not pairing people. So it's just like, what do you do? Well, you're not getting format data. Your program's busted. So, I don't know. We had Eternal Weekend Japan not too long ago. Like people are upvoting the commentary. So I assume we have some kind of results, but like at this point in time, if the format is just shops, Narset, and various incarnations of Teferi style decks, and you don't have room for Bazaar, then you should probably look at your format and figure out what's going on.
I mean Hogak Dredge is absurd right now. The problem is like. When I went to Stacks Exchange and played, I had 7 pieces of hate for Dredge in my board. 7. And it just doesn't work.
That sounds accurate. Maybe a little light. Yeah. The nice part is Dredge just does not care about Narset.
No.
It wants to literally just put those cards in the graveyard on your turn.
Yeah.
But it's also going to draw those too because it's your turn, not mine.
Yeah.
It's... but... when you paradoxical, as far as I'm concerned, probably isn't that bad. It might be Mentor in that deck. You might just need to cut Mentor out of the format. If you when Rich Shea rolled that deck out in the Vintage Super League, and people are like, "There's no way he's going to be able to combo out this turn and win with Tendrils." And then he won, and then he XO'd that entire night between Tendrils and Monastery Mentors. Like, maybe you need to start looking at it. And it's been like 18 months since he did it. It became a cornerstone of the format.
Yeah.
But you're running into the same problem in Vintage that you have when in Legacy and Modern with Monastery Mentor, which is just you finally have enough cheap cantrips and all these formats to work on. You can essentially lock out the game with Narset and just not even take your sweet ass time to win. You just play 1 or 2 Mentors in your 75 somewhere. Side them in and win. But as a backup. But if you cut that loose, now people have to focus more on their primary game plans, which changes the way games play out, and you don't have to have like a fun of sideboard to try and get XYZ and Monastery Mentor.
Yeah.
I think there's a Modern match from the Star City Open over the weekend that you can go back and watch somewhere in the top 4 where Mentor hit the board, made 1 token, and then that 1 token almost took the game.
Yep, it happens.
Like, I don't know. I think that card puts Paradoxical over the top, but I would like to see Paradoxical outcome restricted like all the rest of the good Storm enablers.
Yeah.
Like, Mind's Desire was restricted before the card was even openable. Like, they knew the mistake they made with that card and pre-restricted it.
Yep.
You don't think a deck that plays a ton of 0 and 1 artifacts is going to take advantage of 4 Paradoxical outcomes at some point?
Who knew?
Eidolon of the Great Revel is not unplayable in Vintage, but basically unplayable in Vintage. Like, you're not going to kill somebody. So, I can see something being done with the Storm deck. I don't know what you can do with shops besides literally restrict every artifact in Vintage.
I mean, the thing is, like, you restrict shop, and you restrict Great Creator. Although, granted, Great Creator shops is a completely different beast.
Okay.
Than is Ravager shops. And I think that's, a decent segue into picks for the week, because my pick, contrary to what I said would happen with the banned and restricted list, is from the Great Creator shops list, which is just stacks.
Yep.
And it is Foil Manifold Key. So it's Voltaic Key with upside. It's just better.
Yeah.
It's the same CMC. It still combos with Time Vault. And it makes your Foundry Inspector unblockable, so you can swing for the fences and get the win. And the foils right now are about $5 for a card that you can run as a 4 of, mind you, and has the upside.
Oh, yeah.
So this gets you Voltaic Key number 2 in EDH. It gets you Voltaic Key 2 through 5 in Vintage. It has 1 foil printing of a mass print set, which had foils at a higher insertion ratio, which probably makes everyone scream, this is probably terrible. Like, financially, this isn't bad, there's going to be so many of them, blah, blah, blah. You know what? I think that's great. I think there's going to be a lot of them. I think the foils are super deflated. Just because everyone thinks there's so many of them, because foils are 1 in 3 packs. So I think this is just a really good opportunity to start buying into them.
Yep.
Because I think long term, it wasn't that long ago that Voltaic Key foils were $30 to $40 until this got printed. And then the foils tanked down to 10. I think this is easily a $15 to $20 foil. I don't think it has any problems reaching that whatsoever.
No, I don't think so either. And with Eternal Weekend DOS coming up in about a month and a half.
Yeah, October 31st.
Yeah. That's most likely when you're going to see your huge increase, either coming into or coming out of that event, depending on what goes on with the Vintage environment and any Super Leagues we have leading up to it. I don't know what their schedule is.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a good card overall. Obviously, more copies of Voltaic Key are better because that card just does dumb things. You don't even need to untap Time Vault or give one of your artifact creatures unblockable / vigilance. Just being able to untap some of your large mana producing rocks is also ridiculous in the early games of Shop and EDH, and I think it might just be understated what this card can do if you've never played a deck that really takes advantage of Voltaic Key.
Yeah.
Let me check something. Staff of Domination does like 16 things. Does it untap?
It untaps itself, and it, with unbounded mana, lets you draw your deck and like gain infinite life or something absurd like that.
Okay.
Draw a card, tap a creature, untap a creature, gain a life, and 1 colorless to untap it.
Yeah, okay. It untapped itself, which is the important part. I couldn't remember if it untapped itself or it could untap something else. So.
Yeah.
But I, I like Manifold Key. I picked up a bunch of copies for like a quarter or less because it's an EDH insertable card immediately. It goes straight into vintage decks. There's no reason why people shouldn't not own some number of this card for under a quarter for the near future.
Yeah.
There's actually a chance. Now, I've seen this question floated. Why is Mud bad in Legacy? It's not because it doesn't have artifacts to untap with Voltaic Key, but the fact that you now have Key might not be bad.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, it gives you infinite mana with a card in one artifact in your hand in Metalworker, right? Is Metalworker 2 per? Yeah.
Yeah, 2.
So you get unbounded mana. It's just, what do you do with it?
Yeah. Is Voltaic Key? No, Key is not banned in Legacy. I didn't think so.
Yeah, no. There's just not enough, like, good things to do with
and
it.
I don't think Keys 5 through 8 really change that deck, but at this point, who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I like it as a long-term hold. I picked up a bunch of copies of the non-foil just because I think I can move that one sooner if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I think that one
That's
has...
fair.
I think that one grows faster, but has a much lower ceiling.
Yeah, definitely.
We're just currently at the floor. I don't think this is a card that really drops any much lower than a quarter.
Yeah.
Get in when you can. And this is not a bad card to pick up in foil, like I said, and just sit on.
No, I think it's good.
Also, on the old ass train of cards to pick up, I chose a Elvish Reclaimer, and while it's not old, the format it goes in and the deck that plays it are old as dirt.
Yeah.
Elvish Reclaimer is doing nothing but trending down, but if you notice, market and average have been coming together for a little bit right now, because Golgari Depths is one of the decks to play in Legacy. It was all over the Star City event. It was on camera probably majority of the rounds, so somewhere 50 round event, so maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of I want to say 6 or 7 would be generous. 8 is obviously the majority, but it was on more than enough to see this card actually do its thing. It was in several videos leading up to the event, and it is starting to slide into Jund decks that play Ren and 6. It just allows you to cycle through lands to go get your utility pieces.
Yeah.
At $1.72 on TCG, you're seeing something interesting. There are vendors out there who are selling this card for anywhere from $1.50 to about $2. But if you look at the open market on eBay, this card goes for $3 plus.
Yep.
On eBay. So you're seeing a difference in marketplace there. When the time comes and people actually process these legacy results and start picking up these decks from Moto, start playing them out in the next Star Cities, and you see Reclaimer pick up, this is a card that probably just goes from, $1.75, I think, average to 5. 5, no problem.
Yeah.
Crap rotations 5 through 8 are stupendous in that deck. You can basically forego a chunk of the protection spells when you can just keep rotating through your deck with something like Ren and Sidon, Ren and 6, or Crucible, and just start buying it back. You can just buy through combo pieces to go get more utility lands. You can play it in the full lands deck itself, which just plays more lands and worries a little more about recursion. Golgari Depths is all about speed, so this obviously makes sense in there because you want to be able to pump out either Depths and Thespian Stage as quickly as possible, or Hex Mage and Depths, and doing that requires as many dedicated pieces. Is this a card that fits into a deck like Infect, which also runs crap rotation? Most likely not, although...
No. I actually know some people that are thinking about it in Rug Delver.
Okay.
Because you end up with, like, filtering through with so many fetch lands, and it's not hard to get 3 in there, plus you have Wastelands in that deck. And it's a 1-mana threat that dodges Bolt.
Yeah, at that point.
And, like, gets you utility. So I'm flooded right now. Well, it's effectively like an extra cantrip almost at that point.
Yeah, it has a weird pseudo-nimble Mongoose Claws where it just gets bigger. The other thing is, and I forgot about this until you mentioned it, that Rug Delver actually runs fewer fetchable targets than it does fetch lands, and you can't fetch up your wastelands.
Correct.
So it allows you to churn through your excess or off-color fetches to go get wastelands, something useful.
Yep. It also, I've switched from Abzan Maverick to 4-color Loam, and I know there's some people that are saying 4-color Loam as well. It's a beater.
Absolutely.
So,
and old style Maverick list, this would also, what they use like Knight of the Reliquary, this also helps you get pumping too. If you can, not only just to pump up Knight, but to go get multiple utility lands in a turn, because it's one of the things that those decks like to do, which is go get wasteland numbers like 1 and 2, Ghost Quarter, whatever you need, and then eventually start attacking with Knight when it's, an 8/8 or something like that. But with 3 lands in your graveyard, that's 2 fetches and a tutor, and you don't need to worry about it being a forest or a plains. You can just get rid of excess lands that just you don't need at the moment. If you have an additional, if you're playing the Cradle version of Maverick, you can just ditch a Cradle, power this guy up, and go get a Wasteland or another Cradle. It offers a ton of flexibility in decks that just want to make better use of their land slots because they don't need to have 4, 5, 6, 7 lands on the battlefield. They're just trying to do something quick and get rid of it. Or they have a way to recur back all those lands and play multiple in the same turn, a la the actual lands deck with both Exploration and Mana Bonds, where you just dump it all out.
Yeah.
This is a card that we're just beginning to see the utility of it. It's been flat since release, which is like all of a month, and now the results are starting to pour in. So I would get in on it sooner than later. Like I said, when I was looking at prices and I noticed some vendors were selling it for less than TCG market, I just bought a handful of them.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where after promo codes on vendor sites, it was just insanely cheap. For instance, Channel Fireball always accepts Hamph, or Hamph, however you want to pronounce it.
Whatever it is,
as a 5% off. So when I bought my Elvish Reclaimers from CFB, they were much cheaper than market price, and then some, because of the, coupons, man. Coupons.
Pretty great.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's enough waxing about Elvish Reclaimer for this week.
Yeah.
So we're headed to Vegas, both of us, tomorrow. There's a really good chance we don't get an episode out until Tuesday, unless we have the time to sync up and do one live, which would be dope. But I might bring a webcam to see if we can do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're flying out Sunday around 6, so.
Okay. I'm out Monday, but we have all those days in between. So, if we can get something out from Vegas, I'll definitely try and get that done. Otherwise, we are at MtG Cabalcast on Twitter and Patreon. I am at Halt. I am Reptar. You are
at Thirsty Sizzler.
We're still accepting entries into our UMA giveaway, and we will be. I don't know when we'll get our C19 stuff, just because we'll both be away. But at some point, we'll announce that raffle.
Should be. It may be a little bit, because I got Vegas, and then SCG Dallas, and then Indy.
That's perfect. We'll figure out when we're going to raffle it, and at that point, once we figure it out, we'll set a date for the last patron entry. We'll freeze the list. We'll raffle it off from there, and then we'll be giving away C19. I think I said 16. That was my mistake. C19.
Oh yeah, C19. Yeah, not 16.
Yeah,
the new one. Yeah.
So, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. See you next week, guys.